So, what if I told you something a bit crazy? Almost every time you feel angry or sad or guilty, you are actually just following a set of invisible rules.
Yeah, that does sound a little crazy.
Right. But what if I told you that you agreed to these rules when you were only 5 years old? You did not choose them, you did not write them, but they still control your life today.
It sounds like a strange idea when you say it out loud. I mean, we all think we're independent adults.
Exactly.
We believe we make our own choices. But the truth is, our brains are full of old software. We are running programs that other people installed in us a very long time ago.
And that is exactly what we are exploring today. Welcome to the Deep Dive. We take your sources, your books, and your articles, and we find the most important pieces of knowledge.
We try to give you a shortcut to being well informed.
Yes, and today we are doing this in clear, simple English. We want to explore some very deep psychological concepts using language that is easy to follow. So before we start, I have a warm-up question for you.
Yes, you, the person listening right now.
Do you have any personal rules that you try to live by? Just think about that for a second.
Yeah. What rules guide your everyday choices? Maybe you have a rule that says, I must always work harder than everyone else to be valuable.
Or maybe your rule is I must never show people when I am sad because sadness is weak. We all have these
No, this
rules.
time I do.
Today, we are going to look at 4 new rules. We are looking at a very famous book called The Four Agreements. A man named Don Miguel Ruiz wrote this book. He published it in 1997.
It is a very short book, actually. It takes maybe 2 hours to read.
Yeah, but millions of people around the world keep this book on their bedside tables. They read it over and over again. Why? Because it completely changes how they experience a normal Tuesday afternoon.
The names of these 4 agreements are very simple, but do not let the simple language fool you. Changing your mind is very hard work.
Right, it really is.
These 4 simple rules act like a whole new operating system for your brain. But before we can install this new system, we need to understand the author. We need to know where these ideas come from.
I totally agree. Context is everything. So let us talk about Don Miguel Ruiz. He is an author and a teacher from Mexico. But his family background is quite unusual, right?
Yes, his background is fascinating. He grew up in rural Mexico, and his family was full of traditional healers.
Let's explain that. What is a traditional healer?
In many cultures, a healer is someone who helps sick people using ancient knowledge. They use plants and spiritual practices. His mother was a healer, his grandfather was a healer, and his grandmother taught him the philosophy of the Toltec people.
We should explain who the Toltec people were. We hear that word a lot in spiritual books, but what does it actually mean?
The Toltecs were an indigenous society in Mexico. They lived many centuries before the Aztecs. The word Toltec actually translates to artist or builder.
Okay, builders.
Yeah, but Ruiz explains that in his family's tradition, the Toltecs were women and men of deep knowledge. They were scientists of the mind. They studied human behavior.
Like ancient psychologists.
Exactly like that. They studied how people create their own suffering.
But from what I read in the source material, Ruiz did not want to be a traditional healer when he was a young man. He wanted to escape that life.
He absolutely did. He wanted a modern life. He was very interested in hard science. So he went to medical school. He actually became a surgeon.
Oh, wow. So he was a real doctor.
Yes, he wanted to heal people using modern medicine, surgery, and biology. For many years, he lived a very standard, modern, scientific life.
Then something completely changed his path. A major turning point.
He had a terrible car accident. He fell asleep while he was driving late at night. His car crashed into a concrete wall. It was a massive impact.
That is awful.
In the book, he describes a classic near-death experience. He says he felt his awareness leave his physical body. He watched himself pull his friends out of the burning car.
That sounds terrifying. How does an experience like that change a person's brain?
Well, when a human being comes that close to death, it often shatters their normal view of the world. For Ruiz, surviving this crash changed everything. He realized something very important.
What was it?
He realized that modern medicine is wonderful for fixing a broken bone or a bleeding body. But it cannot fix a broken mind. It cannot stop human emotional suffering.
Right. A surgeon can't cut out sadness.
Exactly. So after the accident, he left his career as a surgeon. He went back to his mother. He wanted to learn the ancient Toltec wisdom he had ignored as a child. He wanted to really understand the mind.
That is a powerful origin story. So he took this ancient knowledge and translated it into this short book. Now, let us look at the title. The Four Agreements. The word agreement is the foundation of this entire deep dive. What does Ruiz mean by an agreement?
To understand this, we have to look at child psychology. An agreement is a belief. It is a rule that you accept as the absolute truth.
But how do we get these rules?
Ruiz says we are born completely free. A baby does not have any rules. A baby just plays, eats, and sleeps. But then the adults start training us.
They train us like we are small pets.
Ruiz actually uses the word domestication. We domesticate humans the same way we domesticate a dog.
That sounds harsh. How do you train a dog?
You use a system of rewards and punishments. If the dog sits, you give it a treat. If the dog bites the furniture, you yell at it. We do exactly the same thing to children.
Give me an example of how we domesticate a child.
Okay, imagine a little boy. He is crying because he fell down. His father says, "Stop crying. Big boys do not cry. Be tough."
Right, that happens all the time.
And if the boy stops crying, the father smiles and says, "Good boy." The father gives a reward. So the boy's brain makes a connection. The boy agrees with the rule. He makes an agreement in his mind.
What is the agreement?
The agreement is, crying is bad. If I hide my feelings, people will love me.
The child does not fight the rule, the child just accepts it.
Exactly. Children do not have a filter. Their brains are incredibly plastic. That means they absorb everything around them. We absorb rules from our parents, our school, our religion, and our culture.
We just take it all in.
Right. We agree that certain things are beautiful and certain things are ugly. We agree that certain jobs make you successful and other jobs make you a failure.
And all of these agreements combine to create our reality. Ruiz calls this collective reality the dream of the planet. It is like a giant social illusion we all agree to live inside.
That is a perfect way to describe it. But here is the major problem. Most of these agreements are based on fear.
Fear of what?
Fear of not being good enough. They are based on trying to be perfect for other people. Because we can never be perfect, these rules make us suffer. They make us judge ourselves constantly.
Yeah, that internal judge is tough.
We all have an internal judge in our head. It uses these rules to punish us all day long.
So the mission of this book is to fire the judge. The mission is to break the old painful agreements and create new ones. Ruiz gives us 4 new agreements to replace the thousands of bad ones. Let us jump into the very first one. Agreement number 1. Be impeccable with your word.
This is the first agreement, and Ruiz says it is the most important one. He also says it is the most difficult one to practice.
Let us define the vocabulary first. The word impeccable is not a word we use every day. What does it mean?
The word comes from Latin. Peccatus means sin or mistake. Im means without. So impeccable literally means without sin.
Okay, but in simple modern English.
In simple English, it means perfect, pure, or completely clean.
So be impeccable with your word means use your words in a pure and clean way. But why is this the most important rule? Words are just air coming out of my mouth. They're just sounds.
That is where Ruiz disagrees strongly. He says words are not just sounds. Words are actual forces. They are the tools you use to create your reality.
Wow, okay.
Ruiz uses a very famous metaphor here. He says the human mind is like a very rich, fertile garden, and words are seeds.
I really want to explore that metaphor. Words are seeds, and the mind is the soil.
Yes. Every time you hear a word or speak a word, you plant a seed in the soil of the mind. If you plant a good seed, like a compliment or a truth, a beautiful plant grows.
And if you plant a bad seed?
Like an insult or a lie, toxic weeds grow, and whatever grows in your mind becomes your reality.
Wait, I have to push back on that. The idea that words create reality sounds a bit like magic. It sounds like something you read in a fantasy novel, not a practical psychological tool.
It sounds magical, yes. But it is actually deeply connected to neuroscience and psychology. Your brain believes what it hears most often. Let us look at a practical example. Think about gossip.
Oh, gossip. We all do it.
Gossip is when you talk badly about someone who is not in the room. Ruiz calls gossip black magic. It is pure poison.
It is poison because we are planting toxic seeds in other people's minds. If I come to you and say, hey, did you know our coworker is a very lazy person who steals money? I have just planted a seed in your garden.
Exactly. Even if my coworker has never done anything bad to me, the next time I see him, I will view him through the poison you gave me. I will not trust him. My reality has changed because of your words.
That makes total sense.
But there is another layer to this. Gossip hurts the person speaking it too. When you gossip, your body literally produces stress hormones. Your heart rate changes. You invite negative energy into your own biological system.
So, to be impeccable means you refuse to gossip. You only use your words for truth and positive connection. But we also talk to ourselves. We have a voice inside our head that talks from morning until night.
And this is where the agreement gets really challenging. How do you talk to yourself when you make a mistake?
Oh, it's usually not good.
Right. If you drop a glass of water on the floor, what does the voice in your head say? Does it say, oops, an accident? Or does it say, I am so stupid, I always ruin everything?
Most of us are very cruel to ourselves. We say things to ourselves that we would never say to a friend.
If you tell yourself, I am stupid, every single day, your brain creates a permanent agreement. You accept that role as a fact. You start to behave like a stupid person. You stop trying new things because you already believe you will fail.
Something negative is just being realistic.
What do you mean?
Imagine I am trying to learn a complex new computer program for my job. I try on Monday and I fail. I try on Tuesday and I fail again. I fail 5 times. If I say to myself, I am really bad at this computer program, isn't that just the truth? Why should I pretend everything is wonderful?
Yeah.
We do not want to fall into toxic positivity.
That is an excellent distinction. Ruiz does not want you to live in a fake, happy fantasy. Toxic positivity is pretending bad things do not exist. Being impeccable means being highly accurate. Let us look at your computer example. You failed 5 times. What is the accurate truth?
The accurate truth is that I do not understand the software yet.
Yes. So saying this software is very difficult for me right now is impeccable. It is true, and it is a temporary fact about the situation.
Okay.
But saying I am terrible at computers and I am an idiot is not impeccable. That is an emotional attack on your own character. It is a permanent judgment. Do you see the difference?
I do.
Yeah.
This is hard is a fact. I am an idiot is a toxic seed.
Exactly. Let us bring this to our listener right now. Think about your English learning journey. When you struggle to find a word in English, what do you tell yourself?
You'd probably say something mean.
Yeah, do you say, my English is terrible? That is a toxic seed. It makes you want to quit. What if you change it to something impeccable? What if you say, English vocabulary is challenging, but I am actively learning?
That feels entirely different. It is honest, but it leaves the door open for growth. Okay, so that is agreement 1. We must stop planting poison with our words. We must stop gossiping, and we must speak kindly and accurately to ourselves.
Right.
But what happens when we leave our house? What happens when someone else tries to plant their toxic seeds in our garden? How do we build a fence?
That brings us perfectly to agreement number 2. Don't take anything personally.
People often say this is the hardest rule to follow in modern society, but they also say it is the secret to total freedom. If you can master this, you feel like you have a superpower. So what is the core mechanism of this rule?
The mechanism is simple to say, but hard to believe. Ruiz says, nothing other people do or say is about you. Literally nothing. It is always 100% about them.
Wait, nothing?
Yeah,
Even if they are looking right at my face and using my name.
even then. Let us talk about why this is so hard to accept. It has to do with human biology and the ego. When we are children, we believe we are the center of the universe.
Oh, definitely.
If our parents are happy, we think we made them happy. If our parents are angry, we think we made them angry. We carry this ego into adulthood. We think everything relates back to us. Ruiz calls this personal importance.
We walk through life thinking everyone is obsessed with us.
Yes, but the truth is, everyone is obsessed with themselves. Everyone is living in their own dream inside their own head. Let us use a modern, vivid example to explain this.
Okay.
Imagine you get a new haircut. You feel good about it. You post a picture of your new haircut online. A stranger on the internet comments, "You look exhausted and terrible."
Oh, my brain would immediately spiral. I would stare in the mirror. I would think I look old. I would regret the haircut. I would feel awful for the rest of the day.
Of course. That is the normal reaction. You took it personally. You agreed with their poison. But let us look at the reality of that stranger. Who are they?
I have no idea.
Right. Maybe they just lost their job. Maybe they are intensely jealous of your life. Maybe they have a headache and are in a terrible mood. They have a dark, angry reality in their own mind.
So they go online to throw that dark energy at someone else.
Exactly. Ruiz uses the idea of an emotional projector. Think of a movie theater. The stranger is the projector, and they're playing a movie of anger and sadness.
And I am just the screen.
Yes, you are just a blank white screen. They threw their movie onto you. If you take it personally, you absorb their movie into your own body.
But if I remember agreement 2, I realize the comment is just information about their mental state, not my haircut.
Precisely. The comment tells you, this person is unhappy and wants to hurt someone. It tells you 0 facts about your physical appearance. Once you truly understand this, You become immune to insults. Their words just bounce off your invisible shield.
I love the idea of an invisible shield. But let us look at the other side of the coin. What about positive things? What about praise?
Praise.
Yeah, someone leaves a comment that says, "You are the most beautiful, brilliant person in the world." I want to take that personally. I want to absorb that movie.
Everyone wants to absorb praise. It feels wonderful. But Ruiz warns us that taking praise personally is a dangerous trap. It works exactly the same way as an insult. The praise is still just a projection of their current mood and their personal beliefs.
Why is it dangerous to accept the praise?
Because if you need their praise to feel valuable, you give them total control over your emotions. If you depend on them to tell you that you are wonderful today, you will crash into a deep depression when they call you terrible tomorrow. You are letting someone else drive your car. You must know your own value. You do not need their agreement to be a good person.
So if someone compliments me, I can just say thank you
Yep.
and appreciate their good mood. But I should not use it to calculate my own worth.
Exactly. You enjoy the interaction, but you remain emotionally independent.
Well, hold on. Let us bring this into the professional world. I need to push back here because this rule sounds a bit irresponsible in a workplace.
How so?
Imagine I spend 2 weeks writing a massive financial report for my company. I hand it to my manager. My manager reads it and says, "This report is a disaster. You missed 3 major data points and the conclusion makes no sense." That is absolutely about me. That is about my direct actions.
Okay, I see where you're going.
Right. If I say, "Oh, I will not take this personally, it is just my manager's projection," then I am a terrible employee. I will never learn and I will get fired.
That is a very common and very important challenge to this agreement. To use this rule safely, you must learn a new skill. You must learn to separate feedback from emotional poison. They are two completely different things, but people often mix them together.
Okay, break that down for me. What is the difference?
Feedback is objective data. It is information you can use to navigate the physical world. Let us look at your manager's words. You missed 3 major data points. That is feedback. It is a fact.
Yes, I can check that.
You can look at the paper and see the missing numbers. That information is highly useful. You should accept that data and fix the report.
So taking the data is good, but where is the emotional poison?
The poison comes in how you interpret the interaction or how the manager delivers it. If the manager says, "You missed 3 data points, you are a useless idiot who cannot do anything right." The first half is data, the second half is poison.
I see.
The second half is the manager projecting their stress, their anger, and their poor leadership skills onto you.
So don't take it personally means I filter the conversation. I grab the useful facts to improve my skills, but I refuse to let their anger define my identity.
Yes. You stay perfectly calm. You say, "Thank you for showing me the missing data. I will fix that immediately." You do not feel ashamed. You do not feel worthless. You just process the information and move forward.
That makes it much easier to handle criticism.
Think about learning a language. If someone corrects your English grammar, it hurts if you take it personally. You feel embarrassed. But if you see it as just free data about verb tenses, you learn rapidly and joyfully.
That completely changes the feeling of receiving criticism. We have built our shield with agreement too. We know how to handle other people's words. But what happens when people do not communicate clearly? That brings us to agreement number 3. Don't make assumptions.
This agreement addresses one of the biggest causes of human suffering and ruined relationships. We make assumptions constantly, every hour of the day.
Let us define what an assumption actually is. An assumption is when you guess why something happened, or you guess what someone is thinking. And then you believe your guess is a 100% true fact. You have no proof, but you believe your story.
And we must ask why the brain does this. Why do we invent stories? From a biological perspective, the human brain is a prediction machine. It evolved to keep us safe by predicting what will happen next.
So it hates not knowing.
Exactly. Furthermore, the brain tries to conserve caloric energy. Living in a state of uncertainty of not knowing requires a massive amount of mental energy. The brain hates uncertainty.
So to save energy, the brain just makes up an answer and says, "There, problem solved, now we know."
Yes. Even if the answer is completely negative and causes you emotional pain, the brain prefers a painful story to the stress of not knowing.
Let us map this out with a really common scenario. The dreaded unreturned text message. Let us say I send a text message to a good friend at noon. It says, "Hey, do you want to grab coffee later?"
Okay.
1 hour passes, no reply. 3 hours pass, the sun goes down, 6 hours pass. Still no reply. My brain cannot handle the uncertainty. So what does my brain do?
Your brain starts writing a script for a drama movie. You think, why is he ignoring me? He has his phone all the time. He must have seen my message. He's deliberately choosing not to reply.
And then I ask why.
Right, you say, why? Because he's angry. What did I do? Oh, at dinner last week, I made a joke about his shoes. He hated that joke. He thinks I'm a terrible friend. He does not want to see me ever again.
I have absolutely done this. I create a massive, detailed tragedy in my head. I feel a terrible pain in my chest. I feel rejected and angry.
And the worst part is the next step. You act on the assumption. The next day you see this friend. Because you believe your story, you act cold, you act defensive. You might even be rude to him. Now you have created a real physical conflict out of thin air.
And all because I assumed. So what is the cure? How do we stop this biological reflex?
Ruiz gives us the ultimate tool against assumptions. It takes courage, but it's very simple. Ask questions. Seek the truth. Communicate clearly.
Just
Yes. In the texting example, instead of suffering for 6 hours, you just seek the truth. When you finally see him, you say, "Hey, I noticed you didn't reply yesterday. Is everything okay? Are you upset with me?"
And what happens?
99% of the time, the truth is incredibly boring. He will say, "Oh man, I'm so sorry. I opened your text while I was carrying groceries, and then I completely forgot to reply."
A dropped bag of groceries caused my 6 hours of psychological torture.
Exactly. When you ask questions, you find the truth. When you have the truth, the false stories dissolve, the drama disappears.
Okay, I agree with the logic, but I have a serious problem with the application. I think this advice is very culturally specific.
How so?
Ruiz is suggesting a very direct Western style of communication. Just ask. But in many cultures, asking direct, blunt questions is considered extremely rude. It disrupts social harmony.
That is a good point.
Yeah, if I think my boss is unhappy with me and I walk into his office and ask, "Are you angry with me?"
Mm.
He might feel attacked. He might think I'm aggressive. The direct question could actually destroy my career.
This is a very valid cultural critique. Direct confrontation does not work everywhere. However, the core principle of Agreement 3 is not about being aggressive. It is about seeking clarity. You do not have to use a blunt hammer to find the truth. You can adapt the principle to your own culture.
So how do I seek the truth politely in an indirect culture?
You ask soft questions that open the door to communication. Instead of saying, "Are you angry at me?" you might say, "I want to make sure I am meeting your expectations on this project. Is there anything I should adjust?"
Oh, that is much better.
Or, "I sense there is some tension today. Is there any way I can assist you?" You are still seeking facts, but you are doing it with cultural respect.
That is a great compromise. I am finding a polite path to the truth. And the pain of a slightly awkward conversation is always smaller than the pain of a wrong assumption that lasts for 6 months.
Absolutely. Awkwardness lasts for 2 minutes. Resentment lasts for years. Do not assume.
We have covered 3 agreements so far. Watch your words, protect yourself from other people's projections, and seek the truth instead of guessing. That brings us to the final rule. Agreement number 4. Always do your best.
This agreement is the engine that makes the other 3 agreements work. You will fail at the first 3 agreements. You will accidentally gossip. You will take an insult personally. You will make an assumption. You are human.
It happens to all of us.
But Agreement 4 is about how you approach your daily life despite your failures.
The phrase "do your best" can be a little triggering for some people. It sounds like a demand for endless hustle. It sounds like you must be working at 100% capacity, running a marathon, and being a perfect parent 24 hours a day.
That is a total misunderstanding of the rule. Ruiz is very clear that your best is not a static level of perfection. Your best is a moving target. It changes from day to day, from hour to hour, and from minute to minute.
Why does it change so much?
Because you are a biological creature. You are subject to energy levels, hormones, illness, and stress. Think about a day when you wake up feeling fantastic. You slept for 8 hours, you ate a great breakfast, the sun is shining, you feel healthy.
I love those days.
On that day, your best might mean producing a massive amount of creative work, going to the gym, and cooking a beautiful dinner.
That is a high-energy best. What about the opposite?
Imagine it is 3 months later. You have a terrible stomach virus. You slept for 2 hours. Your dog died the day before. You were grieving, and you were sick. What is your best on that day?
It's definitely not going to the gym.
No.
Yeah.
Your best might simply be taking a shower and resting on the couch. That is your 100% for that specific day.
I think this is where the trap of perfectionism catches us. We compare our sick day to our healthy day.
Yes. People look at themselves on the sick day and say, last month I ran 5 miles and worked 10 hours. Today I can only lie on the couch. I am failing. I am lazy. They judge their current reality using an old measurement, and that is completely unfair.
If I understand correctly, Ruiz is saying we must evaluate our effort based only on the resources we have available in this exact moment.
Exactly. And why is this so crucial for mental health? Because it is the only way to destroy guilt.
The death of guilt. That sounds appealing. How does it work?
What is guilt? Guilt is the painful emotion that happens when you know you could have done better, but you chose not to. Guilt is the voice of the internal judge saying you did not try.
Right.
But if you reach the end of the day and you honestly evaluate your effort and you say, I felt terrible today, my energy was extremely low, but I gave everything I had, the judge has no power.
If you gave your honest effort, there is no room for guilt to exist.
Exactly. You can fall asleep with a peaceful mind. You know you did your best, even if your best was just surviving the day.
So those are the 4 agreements. They sound logical, they sound beautiful. But talking about philosophy in a comfortable room is easy. The real world is loud, stressful, and chaotic.
It really is.
When my train is late and I spill coffee on my shirt and my boss is yelling, it is very hard to remember ancient Toltec wisdom. So let us talk about practical application. What did we actually try to do? How do we build these new brain habits?
The book offers some incredibly simple, practical tools. They do not take much time, but they build your mental muscles. Let us look at a practical tool for agreement 1. Be impeccable with your word.
How do I stop planting bad seeds?
You start with word awareness. You cannot fix a habit if you do not know it exists. So, pick one normal Tuesday. For that entire day, your only job is to notice. Do not try to stop yourself. Just carry a small notebook or use your phone.
And what do I write down?
Every time you say something negative about yourself, every time you complain about the weather, every time you gossip about a celebrity, just make a small mark on the paper.
I feel like if I did this, I would have 50 marks by lunchtime.
Most people do. We complain and attack ourselves on autopilot. Just seeing that high number on the paper is often enough to shock your brain into changing. You become aware of the poison.
That makes sense. Awareness is step 1. What is a practical exercise for agreement 2? Don't take anything personally.
Try a technique called pause and ask. When someone insults you or when you read a bad email, your biological instinct is to fight back immediately. Your heart rate spikes. You must break that physical reaction.
How?
When you feel that heat in your chest, force yourself to take one deep breath. Pause for 5 seconds and ask yourself this specific question. Is this event actually about me or is it about their bad day?
Creating that 5-second gap between the event and my reaction is where freedom lives. I stop being a reflex machine. What about agreement 3? Don't make assumptions.
This is an action-based exercise. I want you to identify one major assumption you are currently holding in your life. Think about a relationship right now where you feel confused or slightly angry. Maybe you think your partner is bored with you. Maybe you think your neighbor hates your dog. Pick one story.
Okay, I have one in my head. What do I do with it?
Sometime this week, you must go to that person and ask a clarifying question. You must face the awkwardness. You must ask politely, seeking the truth. Destroy the story with facts. It will feel scary before you do it, but you will feel a massive relief afterward.
Face the fear, find the facts. Got it. And finally, a tool for agreement 4. Always do your best.
Try the evening sentence. Keep a notebook next to your bed. Every single night, right before you close your eyes, write down one sentence. Start the sentence with, today my honest best was, and then finish it.
Give me an example of how that might look on a bad day.
Okay, today my honest best was drinking water and not yelling at the customer service agent on the phone.
Yeah. It is about honoring the small victories when energy is low. It shifts the brain's focus away from failure and toward effort.
Exactly. You are training your brain to feel satisfied.
Now, I want to pull back the curtain a little bit. We read this book closely. We thought about these rules deeply. I want to share which agreement is the hardest for me personally, and I want to hear yours.
I'd love to hear that.
For me, the hardest one to actually live by is agreement 3. Don't make assumptions.
Why is that one the biggest challenge for you?
Because I think my brain is too fast for my own good. I am a very analytical person. I observe tiny details. If my friend changes their tone of voice slightly, or if they take 3 seconds longer to answer a question, my brain instantly builds a massive psychological profile of why they did that.
Wow, your brain is working hard.
Yes. I convince myself that I am an expert at reading people, but really I'm just projecting my own insecurities onto their small actions. It is incredibly difficult for me to stop my racing thoughts and just say, I do not actually know what is happening. I need to ask. What about you? Which one breaks you?
For me, it is agreement 4. Always do your best. I suffer from severe perfectionism. I have a very loud internal judge. I constantly compare my productivity today with my absolute best day from the past.
Oh, that's tough.
If I do not operate at 100% maximum efficiency, I call myself lazy. It is incredibly hard for me to accept that resting is sometimes my best. I feel guilty when I start moving. This agreement is a daily battle for me.
It is comforting to know that even experts struggle with this. These are lifelong practices, not quick fixes. Now, as we get closer to the end of our deep dive, we have a responsibility to our listeners. We need to look critically at the source material. We need to talk about what the 4 agreements gets wrong or what it leaves out. No book is perfect.
Critical thinking is essential. If we only praise a book, we are not learning. We are just joining a cult. Let us look at the weaknesses of Ruiz's work.
First, I want to talk about the delivery and the tone. Ruiz leans very heavily into Toltec mysticism. He uses words like black magic, spells, spirits, and the dream.
Yes, that can be a lot.
For some people, this spiritual language is beautiful and inspiring, but for others, it is highly distracting.
Yeah. If you are a person who values empirical data, scientific studies, and psychological research, this book might frustrate you. The core concepts map perfectly onto modern cognitive behavioral therapy, but Ruiz does not use science to explain them. If you prefer data over mysticism, you might struggle with this book. You might be better served by reading something like Thinking Fast and Slow by Daniel Kahneman, which explains the exact same brain flaws using rigorous academic research.
That is a great alternative recommendation. The second major critique I have is about the gap between the what and the how.
Explain what you mean by that gap.
Well, self-help books often suffer from this. The 4 agreements sound beautifully simple. Do not take things personally. It sounds so obvious. The book tells you what you need to do to be happy. But human trauma, mental illness, and deep habits are profoundly complicated. The book largely ignores how incredibly difficult it is to override decades of neurological wiring. It is a bit like a doctor saying, to cure your heart disease, simply stop having heart disease. It lacks deep, step-by-step psychological protocols for people who are truly stuck.
That is a very fair assessment. It is a philosophy book, not a clinical therapy manual. But I want to talk about the third critique, which I believe is the most important. There is a potential danger hidden in agreement 2. Don't take anything personally.
We need to unpack this carefully. For everyday life, ignoring an angry driver or a rude internet comment is great advice. But what happens when we apply this rule to serious, dangerous situations?
This is where the rule can become toxic. Imagine a person who is living in a highly abusive environment. Maybe they have a partner who verbally abuses them every day, or a boss who cruelly manipulates them. If that person reads this book and says, oh, my partner is just projecting their own pain, I will not take their abuse personally, what happens?
It sounds like they use the agreement to excuse the abuser's behavior. They use spiritual wisdom to stay in a dangerous situation.
Exactly. It can lead to severe passivity. It can make a victim feel like their own pain is just a failure of their own spiritual practice. They might think, if I was stronger, this abuse wouldn't hurt. That is incredibly dangerous.
We must be crystal clear here. Understanding that an abuser's actions are driven by their own broken psychology does not mean you should tolerate the abuse.
Precisely. Their behavior is about them. But protecting your physical and mental safety is about you. You can understand that a dog is biting you because it is scared, but you still need to pull your hand out of the dog's mouth and build a fence.
Definitely.
Do not take the abuse personally, meaning do not let it define your worth as a human, but absolutely take action to remove yourself from the harm. Your boundaries matter.
That distinction is vital. Spiritual detachment should never replace physical and emotional safety. Okay, we have covered an immense amount of ground today. We traveled from the ancient Toltec civilization to modern child psychology. We discussed neuroscience, emotional projectors, and the death of guilt. Let us summarize the core message. Let us bring it all home for the listener.
If you take away just one idea today, let it be this. You are currently living by a set of rules that you did not choose. You accepted them when you were too young to know better, but you are not a child anymore. You have the power to break those old contracts.
You can choose a new operating system.
Yes. You can choose to use your words to heal, not to poison. You can choose to let other people's opinions bounce off your invisible shield. You can choose the temporary discomfort of asking questions over the long pain of assumptions. And you can choose to forgive yourself by giving your honest effort with the energy you have today.
These four agreements will not instantly fix every problem in your complicated life. They will not put money in your bank account or stop the rain from falling. But if you practice them slowly, day by day, they will fundamentally change how you experience the rain. They will bring peace to your internal world.
And peace in the internal world is the only peace we can actually control.
Now, we have a question for you, the person who has been learning with us for this entire deep dive. We want you to look at your own life right now. Which of the four agreements do you most desperately need to practice this week?
Do you need to clean up your vocabulary and stop gossiping? Do you need to build a shield against someone's criticism?
Do you need to finally ask that scary question? Or do you just need to forgive yourself and accept your honest best? Tell us in the comments. Write it down. Explain your why.
Naming the problem is the first step to changing the agreement. We read every comment, and it helps us see how these ideas work in the real world across different cultures.
And finally, before we conclude, you get to steer the ship. You get to decide what we investigate next. We have four distinct options for our next deep dive, and we need your vote.
Here are the options on the table. Option 1 is 13 Things Mentally Strong People Don't Do by Amy Morin. This is a practical look at identifying and breaking the specific habits that drain your mental toughness. Option 2 is Why Has Nobody Told Me This Before by Dr. Julie Smith. This is essentially a toolbox full of clinical psychological strategies for managing bad days, anxiety, and low moods.
Option 3 is a classic, The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle. This is a deep exploration into how our obsession with the past and our fear of the future destroy our ability to live in the present second. And option 4 is a little different. It is The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho. This is not a psychology textbook. It is a famous novel, a story about a young boy following his literal dreams across a desert, but it holds massive lessons about finding your life's purpose.
Let us know which topic you want us to unpack. We will gather the research and prepare the next journey.
Thank you for spending your valuable time with us today. Thank you for engaging with this B1 English Deep Dive. We started this conversation by talking about the invisible rules of the game of life. It is true that the world is chaotic, and there is no universal rulebook handed to us at birth. The rules you accepted when you were a child were necessary for survival back then, but they might be holding you back right now. Remember, you are the player on the field, but you are also the referee. You have the whistle. You can pause the game. You can change the rulebook. You can make agreements that actually serve your joy, your peace, and your growth. Until we meet again for the next deep dive, keep questioning your assumptions, keep seeking the truth, and always be careful with the seeds you plant in the beautiful garden of your mind.